On. Hello, everyone. This is Reed Kastner-Lang, host of Dharma Unfiltered. We're coming in on episode 19 of this podcast. Coming in from Ottawa, Wisconsin. Here we got a special guest, Tikvah Schlissel. He was in my accounting class last year when COVID hit. And I think I had started like a investing group chat or something. And he said, "Hey, I want in." And first of all, not many kids in high school are even thinking about investing. So I thought, that's a good sign right off the bat. And then we just started talking a couple days ago, and he told me about some of the things that he's done here in high school and what he's kind of planning on doing. And I thought that we could have a pretty cool conversation because Tikvah has done a lot of things and is planning on doing a lot of things that not many people are doing. And that's where innovation happens. That's where the world has moved forward. So Tikvah, introduce yourself. What do you do? Where are you from?
Yeah, my name's Tikvah Schlissel. I currently live in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I was originally born in California, then moved to Idaho, and now I'm in Wisconsin. Through high school, I have started a couple businesses and worked a couple other places, all different fields through investing, resell companies. I had a social justice brand that I started that actually is still functioning. And then I was homeschooled a majority of my education, including a couple of years of high school, which was very crucial to me developing as a person to have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Mm. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I want to dive in first into the homeschool thing because I think when people, I think homeschooling has a weird reputation. I think it's like when a lot of people look at people that are homeschooled as those weird religious kids. Like,
Yeah.
So just tell me, were you always homeschooled?
No. So I started, I went to University Lake School for like pre-K.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I went to Prairie Hill Waldorf School until fourth grade, from kindergarten to fourth grade. And then I
Just explain for the people that don't know exactly what the Waldorf school is and how it's different than
Yeah,
most.
so the Waldorf school is very much, there's not a lot of technology involved in the learning. You have the same teacher from first grade through eighth grade that follow you up through the years. It's very much more hands-on and working with the students. So you're handwriting a lot of things, you're learning about drawing. It's very much the kids express themselves. It's kind of changing now because of COVID, because now people have to. But when I was in the Waldorf ecosystem,
Mhm.
that's how it kind of started. And then I was there in that Waldorf school until fourth grade. And then I went to a school in Heartland, actually, a community school of learning, which was like a charter school, which was very much self-guided. And that didn't really, I liked how self-guided because I like to focus on what I like to learn about.
Mhm.
But then homeschooling from sixth to eighth, Kettle Moraine High School of the Performing Arts for freshman year, then homeschooled the rest while taking classes at KM, actually.
Okay. Okay, cool. So how was the dynamic? How did your outlook change moving from physical, more traditional school to homeschool?
I think the biggest difference for me was really your relationships with adults is one of the biggest things. Because in high school, in the actual physical school building and traditional building, I felt like the teachers always you had to prove yourself to everybody. If you want to be trusted by a teacher, you had to prove yourself. That was my personal experience. I felt other people felt the same way. As where when I was a homeschool student, starting even in sixth grade as a homeschool student, I felt like adults trusted me more, versus having to prove myself
Mhm.
because they didn't have all these negative relationships with some students.
Mhm.
Um, that really was the biggest, I think, thing for interactions with people is learning that not all adults like dislike kids, which it seems some teachers do.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. I was going to ask, do you still have a relationship with your Waldorf teacher?
Not really, not as much. We definitely still have like some contact here and there. I definitely have more. Definitely have more contact from them than my previous teachers at high school at Kettle Moraine.
Right.
But I definitely developed more relationships when I was homeschooled with adults, just through connecting.
Yeah. So, well, it was a homeschool mainly like online, and you had like an online teacher, or was it who taught
Yeah.
you?
I didn't do any high school online, any homeschooling online actually until high school. I had all of my mom didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she would come up with curriculums and then teach me. And my sister at the time was also homeschooled. I have a younger sister, and
Mhm.
she would come up with curriculums and then projects, and then I would do them. So I actually didn't have any online experience. Everything was very in person.
Mhm.
Also, a big part of the curriculum that we came up with was traveling, which was super interesting because instead of just learning about Lincoln through just a textbook or something, we drove to Springfield, Illinois to see this giant Lincoln Museum.
Mhm.
Or when you're learning about just geographic locations in the US, we drove to them, which was an opportunity that I personally wasn't able to have in a high school building.
Absolutely. Yeah, that what was your parents like idea when they thought that, oh, we're gonna homeschool the kids? Like what, like kind of what, were they not huge fans of the traditional education system?
Yeah, in a way, yes. My mom definitely didn't like all the screens that were going on. She
Mhm.
believed very much in learning about everything, having a broad knowledge of everything.
Mhm.
And she didn't like just sitting staring at a screen, learning about that in a building.
Mhm.
So that was very much her like, there's more to the world than sitting in a building,
Mhm.
which I definitely helped.
Yeah. Yeah. I had, I would say, I would not a fully negative experience, but definitely not as fulfilling of an experience of high school as I could have had, in doing something like you did, because, yeah, it was just, you get put into this system and it's constantly reinforced, and it's like the teachers aren't like, I would, like, I, in a perfect world, I would still be connected with my teachers. Like the
Yeah.
teacher, like the whole thing is like to develop relationships, and that's something that getting to college, it's like, it's an adult, it's a real like human relationship. It's not just like, it's not. I felt like a lot of the time like it was kind of fake, like, like, oh, I might have a good relationship with some of these teachers, but am I ever really gonna like reach out to them, or are they ever gonna ever reach out to me after high school? And I
Yeah.
honestly wish that the high school would have, like, it's pretty much, you get out of high school and they cut ties. Like, it's like, you're an adult, go out into the world. But I think
Yeah.
that, like, if it would be cool if they followed up with kids, like even just a year later, and got feedback on, after, let it set a little bit, and a year after graduating or something, kind of ask students, how was your experience? And that's the problem, is that it's not student focused. Like it's it's super hard for them to, be able to educate kids at scale, like a lot of
Uh-huh.
kids. I think it's hard. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
agree with you. Yeah, because
it's
even like advisors, like I never had a close relationship with my advisor when I was at KM, which is like the one person who's supposed to be like helping you through the experience.
right, right.
Like their always thing is, oh, reach out to us and we'll help. But there's no, oh, I'll reach out to you or I'll check in on you.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like it's exactly what you're saying. There's no long-term relationship. If you never
Right.
speak to your advisor, they're just never gonna try to help you.
Yeah. Something that I've been battling with in my head a little bit is thinking, like, half the time I think of all the things done wrong by the high school, but then the other half is like, I am who I am today because of that.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I kind of saw that from the beginning. I said, I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been like kind of like individualistic, kind of I'm gonna just do my own thing, whatever. But that's obviously kind of the opposite of what's enforced at the school. I think it's like they're just gonna tell you to basically just get good grades and be involved with school activities and stuff, but they don't give a shit about what you're doing outside of school. Like,
Yeah.
they
Yeah, they definitely don't.
the most I got was like the assistant principal or something saying, "Oh, how's ketchup please going?" Like just in passing, just like if I was like if I was a principal or something, or even a teacher, and I saw some kid starting a business or something, I don't care if I'm entrepreneurial or not. I'm looking for any kid that's doing something different, like, and
Mhm.
super reinforce that into, get the whole school involved and totally back it, because that's like that. If KM really wants to have a good reputation, or any school wants to have a good reputation, what do you think that they'd want their students to do best, not just in academics?
Yeah,
Like,
I definitely agree with you. Did you ever have Mr. Lewis as the teacher?
not as a teacher, but I know him.
Yeah, so I had him for physics, and he was that exact way. He was the only teacher I think I ever had where he's like, if you want to do well in the class, I'll help you. If you don't, I'll leave you alone. You do what you want. And he
Mhm.
was the first teacher that I was like, that had something in common with the homeschooling of like, I'll help you. I'm here to help you. That's my job. But if you don't want to be helped, I'm not going to get in your way. And
Yeah,
it was the exact way. He was like, I'm going to encourage you to do what you want to do.
yeah. It's just there's just such a divide. It's just so different from the real world. It just comes down to that.
Uh-huh.
Like high school, it's just so different. It's like you get out of high school and it's just there's more to life than this, and it's easy to get
Yeah.
caught up in, especially in Wisconsin in the cold winters. Like, I it was hard to kind of allocate brain energy to the things that I actually wanted to, when I had to worry about all this other shit that didn't matter to me, especially senior year when I was already like committed to college. And I
Oh, yeah.
didn't need to worry about that accounting class. Like I really didn't like, I didn't learn anything from it. I already know that shit off YouTube. Like I don't need to
Yeah.
like learn.
Yeah, that's absolutely. It also amazes me that like teachers are teaching without any real life experience in it.
Mm.
Because like Mr. Lewis is a biology chem teacher, like that kind of thing. And he worked in research before he was a teacher. So
Mhm.
like he was like, yeah, if you want to do it, you're gonna do it. If you don't, you're not gonna do it. And I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of teachers like just have the experience of I was taught to teach you this and like no other skills behind it. It's just really interesting.
Yeah. And not to completely rip on KM, because KM is relatively very good. There's a lot
Yes.
of schools that are a lot worse than KM. So that's
Yes.
kind of why I'm at the same time I'm grateful for them and what they did.
Yeah, it definitely, yeah, I agree. The Kettlemering could have been a lot worse. Like
Right.
it's overall one of the like best schools and like beside comparatively to the Waukesha district and some other districts, it's
Yeah.
one of the top schools in the area for public
Definitely.
school.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So let's jump into a little bit of what you've done and some of your ventures.
Yeah. Okay. Starting I guess freshman year. Freshman year, I started resale businesses. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with like Supreme, those brands.
Mhm.
Supreme, Off White, all those. It's like a hype brand. So like
Sure.
it releases and then it sells for more than it originally cost.
Mhm.
So I started a business reselling things, and I had automated processes because when it releases, usually it's available for it's an exclusive item, maybe 5 to 15 seconds is when it's available, then it's sold out.
Right.
So I was during high school classes when teachers would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take your phone." I'm like, "No, I kind of need it right now," because then I set up bots, which are just automated processes to check out. I had all different types of things that I set up, research alerts. So basically, I did that for a while because I did not want to work a job that was just a meaningless job that would add no value to me. That was a minimum wage something. It just never appealing to me.
Yeah.
So, and I had my bills. I had saving up for my car. I got sophomore year. Like I had stuff I got to pay for, and I had to figure out ways to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So I resold items anywhere from shoes, coats, bags, some of my like Yeezys. I've sold like 4 or 5 pairs of Yeezys of buying them from when they were released and reselling them to actually kids at KM. And so that was one of my first ventures.
Okay.
We can touch back on all of them. I'll just go through them real quick. Then I had a whole time while I was doing that, while I was under 18, I was investing through my dad's account, giving him my money that I've earned through that. And I was doing that for a while. I still do that actually. We can touch on later about how I'm doing that through college. Then I started my t-shirt business, Tikvah CC, which is like choose change, and Tikvah means hope in Hebrew actually. Okay. So it's an equality-based t-shirt company that donates all profits to certain charities. Like there was the Black Lives Matter charity. It wasn't Black Lives Matter themselves. It was another charity that's been around longer. Okay. But I've been doing that, and that was just a thing I set up this summer, actually. I've had the idea for a while. I set it up this summer, this past year, I guess now. And that's just something that I found like there's something good I can do. It's also a resume builder. It's something like I want to pursue some business and might as well make it a sustainable business that works. So I built my own website. I host it myself, all those kind of things. For investing now, I have I sell like options and stuff. So I have stock, I sell options for income for when I go to college. So I have money every week.
Okay.
So those are kind of my, right now, what I did. I worked for Medical College of Wisconsin. And then I worked at Shuit Farms, which is a farm for just something to do during the days.
Yeah, definitely. So did you meet any other kids? Have you met any other kids that have done what you've done in terms of like kind of not exactly what you've done, but in terms of starting a couple businesses, because you're one of the only kids like in like a high schooler that I've talked to that has done that.
For reselling, I've talked to a lot of kids that are reselling.
What's reselling?
Reselling was a big thing. It was bigger freshman year when Supreme was a bigger brand. But it definitely still is a thing. Evan Heavner, who goes to KM, I believe he's a sophomore this year. I know him and I sell to him all the time. And then he sometimes resells it because he buys so much from me. I'll give him a discount and then he'll resell to somebody else. But I've met a lot of resellers. You'd be surprised how many resellers aren't buying it with their own money. Like some are just from very fortunate families and then they buy it and So I think on buying it with their own money and starting it, I feel like I'm one of the few because I put my income into it versus giving money. But for businesses, I've talked to a couple people that have started it, mainly from people I've met in Chicago, actually, not too many from KM.
Yeah.
I did meet, I forget his name, who started the ketchup company.
That's me.
Didn't you have somebody else you worked with?
I have a business partner, Evan Lamson.
Oh yeah, yes. I met Evan and I knew you were involved at some point. I didn't know how much.
Yeah.
So I met Evan once or twice. But besides that, not really. And then getting into investing and stuff, that's been very few. I have not met really anybody else I know that sells options.
Okay.
It's more finding online communities.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my roommate sells options or buys puts and calls and stuff, and he makes good money. But it's like I haven't gotten into it, but it's kind of the kind of thing where it's like once you learn it, I mean, obviously you just continue to learn and get better.
Yeah.
But why do you think not so many kids are starting things and taking risks early in high school to start things, and why does everyone kind of why are they falling into the matrix or the trap?
Yeah. I think what, in my perspective, would be that they're very much focused on high school drama,
Mhm.
the grades, and like, this is what I've been told is get a job and make money. Because if you go to if you go to work at Walmart in high school, you know you're getting paid.
Yeah.
I have no for sure of getting paid.
Uh-huh.
Not to say like grades aren't anything. Like I graduated with 3.96 or something like that. So like, grades are there. But I
Yeah.
believe like drama in high school really pulls a lot of kids apart and they don't see the bigger picture,
Yeah.
which I do think homeschooling really allowed me to. I don't know. Do you think the same thing? It's maybe drama and stuff that pulls people away?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that people are worried about other people's judgment. Like
Uh-huh.
I, like I was never worried about it, but I definitely heard, a lot of shit, like a lot of always, oh, Mr. Ketchup guy, like whatever, like okay, yeah, look at me in 10 years. Like I don't like it never phased me because I've always been that way. Like I was never doing any of this stuff to impress anyone. It was just like I didn't really like I think freshman year I more so fell into that trap of trying to be in like the popular group and stuff. And but then kind of as I matured, I kind of figured out like, okay, as soon as you get out of high school, like none of this popularity stuff matters at
Yeah.
all. Like end up most kids end up not even talking to kids from high school, like a couple
Yeah.
years out of high school.
I noticed that completely. Coming in as a homeschooler, never being in the KM district, and then coming freshman year to school to see like all this drama, and people are like literally missing school days because they're like, this person was mean to me. I need a day from away from school, and like
Yeah.
that just blew my mind. Like,
Yeah.
who cares what they said? You're not gonna know them in 3 years from now.
Yeah. I know. It's because it's everyone's so obsessed with like short term, like instant gratification and
Yeah,
everything. It's just it's like it's perspective. It's like if you can't see the bigger picture of anything, and just to kind of I do a lot of I'm a very like macro thinker, so I'm thinking like I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking to this ex-astronaut who was like talking about how he's looking down on Earth, and then when he got back down, he traveled back on Earth. He traveled a lot, and he felt like he was always at home, which was
yeah,
interesting to me because it's like your perspective is only as big as you allow it to be, and as your experiences allow it to be. And when you don't do anything, when you never travel, when you never open your eyes to other things, and you're constantly just trapped in this like high school like Snapchat, like I'm just gonna send pictures back and forth to like
yeah,
8,000 people, like when you fall into that trap, it's really scary cycle. But it's literally, if you can get out of that, if you can say, okay, like if you can look at it for real life, like this is dumb, like this is a waste of time, and allocate that time toward things that are actually going to mature you and make you grow, automatic advantage just to have
yeah.
that perspective.
I 100% agree with you because when I worked at Shewitt Farms and I worked there for, I don't know, 2 months, like literally 2 months, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I can't anymore
Yeah.
of just working because it literally, you just get stuck in that rat race of, okay, I got to be at work. I got to work, work, work. You go home, you wake up the next morning, you work.
Yeah.
And like it just becomes normal. And then like I don't want to normalize that feeling of just showing up and doing something I don't like.
I know. And that's high school too. It's not just work, it's like high school. It's like you got to get up super early, you got to go to school, do things that you don't want to do, and then you get home, it's the winter, it's you might have sports after school, you get home, it's like 6, 7 o'clock, your whole day is gone.
Yeah.
Like you're just exhausted at that point. Like you don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
it's really hard. Yeah, I live on the Kastner-Lang golf course here in Ottawa, south of Dowson, but I
Okay.
worked at the golf course because my mom wanted me to get a job because
Yep.
I'd only landscaping business and catch up and some other stuff, but she wanted me to get a job so I could have a reference for future jobs. I'm like, Mom, I'm never gonna have a future job. I just know it. I'm just not gonna do it. Like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna but I did it, make her happy, and then I worked for 2 days and quit because
Yep.
I was making minimum wage, washing off the golf carts and driving them to the corral or whatever. Like it was like I, it's just a complete waste of my time.
If you're not enjoying it, like why do it when you could
Yeah.
put something? Yeah. So I feel the same way because I'm going to school. I'm a major in finance and a minor in psychology.
Mhm.
But majoring in finance, wanting to go into investment management, money management, private equity, maybe tech. And it's
Yeah.
all that of like, it's gonna be long days, but it's stuff I enjoy versus stuff I
Yeah.
dislike.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely not opposed to long days. That's all I do, but it's like, it's opportunity cost. It's like I could be doing, something else with that time that I just spent. I might have been making money, but I don't care about the short-term money. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
about I'm building something for the future. We've put so many hundreds and hundreds of hours into Catch Up Please, and we haven't gotten. We're still. I mean, we've invested about $8,000 each at this point, and just from personal savings. And so, technically, I mean, personally, I'm still $8,000 in the hole in it. But I would say that um, putting myself into the real world and bringing a product to market, just that alone, I don't care about the money at this point because of all the things that I've learned. And like I could Catch Up Please could fall on its face, which it's not gonna ever. It could if it did. I would have the skills and the experience to be able to start something else
Mm-hmm.
and do it at like three
Yeah.
times the speed.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So how long you've been working on Catch Up Please? Because I've been following for like 2 years-ish, but I'm not sure how long it's actually been around.
Yeah, so we're coming on 3 years now. So it was like third term of our sophomore year.
Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And they say a lot of startups, it takes a lot of times 3-4 years to kind of get off the ground. And that's kind of exactly what we're facing. Like we've lost money the past 2 years, but because we've just been working on moving to the co-packer and getting that produced there. And so now we're really scaling up and we're going to be selling this year in a lot of farmers markets and just kind of getting cash flow, just
Yeah.
making money here. And then hopefully 2022 start to work into some retail.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ultimate goal of kind of everything in this podcast especially is I just want to inspire kids to do more, just to get out of their comfort zone. Especially I think it's a lot easier in college. You have more time, you don't have to worry about the drama. People still do, but it's you have a lot more freedom, but especially kids in high school, because these are the years to do something. These are the years to start something. Like now's the time, because you don't have to necessarily, most kids don't have to pay they don't have a ton of expenses. Like they
Yeah.
don't have a family that they have to take care of, most kids. So like it's like take advantage of this time, like high school through college especially. That's 8 years right there that most kids just waste away grinding on grades that won't matter or affect them 10 years from now, and worry about friendships that won't exist 10 years
Yeah.
from now.
That's definitely, I think that's exactly what it is. That's bringing me back to like why high schoolers aren't trying to start new businesses. Probably that exact comfort of like they don't feel like they need to, because
Mhm.
there's like, well, I'll just figure it out later. And there's that delayed satisfaction that just isn't there.
Mhm. Yeah. And there's not a ton of kids that do it in general, and there's not a lot of entrepreneurs in general. It's just
Yeah.
like, and I don't think, I think that there should be more. Obviously, I think Elon Musk said, there should be less people. There's too many smart people going into finance and law. We need people
Yeah.
making. Totally agree. We need people making stuff. Like we need people using their skills and their knowledge to actually move the world forward in different ways.
Yeah, I agree with you because I do think it's a lot of people being scared to just fail and like and not realizing failing is part of the process of growing,
Mhm.
or failing isn't failing, it's just learning that that didn't work. So
Yeah.
like
And if you're raised like in this bubble, which we're in, and we're in a like the perspective has changed because like I grew up being told, oh, you're in this bubble of, like very, wealthy, rich, white people, and you're in this very safe community and stuff. And not to say that it's not, but then I get to Miami and I see this national bubble of like East Coast. Like
oh
that's like the that's like this bubble times a million. That's
oh
like,
yeah.
because it's like those kids, kids from, and I'm not going to say all of them because I've met some really cool people from there, but like kids from Long Island and Connecticut and these places, and their dads work in finance in New York, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like they have such a like strong safety net
Mm-hmm.
that they don't necessarily like that they can kind of do whatever they want. They can easily afford this super expensive college. They can party it away. They can, and then still probably have opportunities afterwards just
Yeah.
because of who their parents are.
Yeah, I think that's almost a good transition into like the idea of just networking and
Mhm.
about how they know because their dad or mom or whoever works in finance or in that industry has so many connections, and that
Mhm.
just helps so much.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think, um, just you can't be afraid to talk to people. You can't be afraid to ask for advice. I think that's, um, kind of one of the things that I try to do every day. And when you change your mentality, from like the term learning always had a kind of negative connotation for me just because of the negative connotation of kid I'm in high school for me.
Yeah, high school and learning does not like you don't feel like it doesn't feel good.
No, but getting out of it, it's like you basically you end up figuring out that you learn in the smartest people in the world and the wisest people and the ones that are innovating the most are the ones that self-learn and the ones that figure it out themselves. They use their resources. They learn from literally driving down the road. Like if you just would stop, if you would get off your goddamn phone, if you would like just open your eyes a little bit, like, and there's literally so much to learn and so many
Yeah.
people to learn from.
From that, I have a question. Like, why have you noticed that like high schoolers are just scared to talk to adults? Because I feel like that's one of the biggest things of like kids being like uncomfortable with talking to adults, which because of homeschooling, I think I'm very comfortable with talking to adults. And the connections I've made by just talking to adults because they know a lot of places,
Yeah.
like they know a lot of people, they know a lot of places, they've been places, they know things, and it's been super interesting. An example of this for me was I went to a friend's house for New Year's, and their parents had like their parents' friends over. And
Mm.
they're like, oh, I was just talking to them. And I was like, oh, yeah, I wanted to go into investment banking or something around those lines. She goes, oh, I'm a partner at a private equity firm. And she's like, send me your resume and I'll just look over and send it to a couple of people. I'm like, that's really interesting. I was also looking at a tech. She's like, oh, I quit my tech job like 2 years ago because I just wanted to try something else. So if you
Mm.
want me, I'll send you to this the like vice president of IBM. She's like, I'll just
Yeah.
send you like, and it's literally just getting out of your comfort zone and talking to those adults.
I completely agree. And just I would say just don't limit yourself. Just know that there's more of that. Like know that there's so much opportunity that you should be able to everyone should be able to choose. Like there's choose what's best for them. And yeah, no, in terms of high schoolers talking to adults, um yeah, I think I don't know if people are naturally afraid because I mean people talk to their parents, people talk to their family adults, but I think I do think that it's that us versus them, like they're the authoritative teachers that are enforcing rules,
Yeah.
and kids just don't like that, and I don't blame them. Like I've I I've just always kind of again, I'm all in high school and stuff, I was always individualistic, and I would always kind of try to question like teachers, like just because you're a teacher it doesn't mean that it's right. Like a lot of things
Yeah.
are a lot of things are like subjective, and I might have an opinion on it, and maybe that'll move the conversation further. So, but I got some pushback sometimes
I
from
definitely
teachers,
agree with you.
like because they didn't want, they had, it was so unusual. Like they're used to telling kids, okay, you read these pages and then go do the tests. Like that's what they're, it's like that's what they're
Yeah.
paying for. Is like they don't want to do more than that.
Yeah, I find it so strange when kids, like, even if you go to somebody else's house or you have somebody over to your house, now you can't really COVID, but like before, and they would just be like nervous around your parents or something. And
Yeah.
like, it's just always confusing. Like, oh, you are going to introduce him? Like, no, I can introduce myself to your parents. Like, it's like, why can't, like, it was just, it's a weird feeling
Weird.
when people are just nervous to meet other people's parents. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's it's weird because I think I used to be more like that. Like when I was younger and when I was not as mature. Like when I was in, I guess like
I agree with you.
middle school, kind of like I was just more awkward, like in general. Like
Mhm.
but and most people are, but it's like yeah, especially as you mature, and when I have friends or something like now that won't talk to like my parents or like
Yeah.
adults, like it's just weird. Like there's like the older people are literally time travelers for us. Like there's like
Mhm.
we have a good friend in Miami. His name's Tony. He's 26. But he's like, he's funny. He's like, bro, I'm literally a time traveler for you. Just listen to what I have to say. Like if I was 18, if I could go back to 18, I would do two things. I would start investing and I would start working out. And that I just kind of went all in on it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, can't really go wrong with that. I
Yeah.
mean, if you
Literally.
prioritize your money health and your physical health, everything else will follow.
Yeah, it was like your three types of wealth. It was like financial wealth, your time wealth, and like your physical wealth. And it was
Right.
just so fascinating how people just don't like take in like their time. Like they just don't value their time as much. And I
Right.
think that could be part of people just working like high school jobs somewhere could literally just be that aspect of like, oh, my time, I have tons of time. I'll just do random things.
Yeah. And it's all habitual. Like if you start that habit of like of going to work every day, which isn't necessarily teaching you anything, and then coming home and doing absolutely nothing and then doing it all over again, it's like that's how it starts. That's why that's like those are the same kids that are going to be 45 and are talking about the weekend all week.
Yeah.
Like you I that's like you gotta, I don't even like thinking about like days. Like I don't even, half the time I don't even know what day it is. I'm just like living day by day, just everything in the
Mhm.
moment, just just everything. Law of attraction states, if you get out what you put in, you get in what you put out. So it's
Yeah.
like if you if you're gonna sit in your house and be reserved and not gonna do anything, you're not gonna get anything. Like you gotta put yourself out there sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, uh,
Yeah.
and that book was like 1940 something originally written. But it's just talking about how to deal with people, how people think, and about how people value themselves versus like what they actually do. And it's all
Mhm.
fascinating stuff, like what you're saying, law of attraction. If you do something repetitively, like it's going to become your habit. It's going to become what you do and who you are.
Yeah. On the very first podcast, I had my best friend Austin on, and we talked about similar to this and like talking to adults and stuff. And he said something interesting. He said, like, why do we label like new people in our lives as randoms? Like, why? Like, why? Like, it's such a negative. Like, why don't we just call them new? like new people.
Yeah.
Like I want to meet new people. And we were talking about how we're more comfortable talking with adults than we are with kids, because it's just a different conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I like agree with you on the talking to adults and being so comfortable with it. Because like you were saying, they're literally time travelers. They have information and they want to help. Like most adults that I've met personally genuinely want the best for kids. And if you're very respectful to them, they literally give you the answers that you need.
Yeah. It's like you got to respect your elders, and at the same time, well, you got to respect everyone, because like I think everyone so far on this podcast has been like 25 or under. Well, I had one guy that was like 32, but like it's all the younger generation, because and the whole thing is like, I'm trying to just get people that think different, like, because that's what, like, this is it, man. This is we literally have one life, so let's not fuck it up. Like, let's do it right, like every day. And I've been reading a book by Ryan Holiday called The Daily Stoic.
Okay.
And it just talks a lot about like, and do you know anything about kind of like Stoicism?
A little bit. I'm not too familiar with it though.
So it's basically just like ancient, like I guess like Roman philosophers and stuff, and these super old words of wisdom, I guess, that are timeless, that are very timeless. And these are people, and it's practical too. These are people that weren't just studying; they were practicing, and they were trying to figure out all these different methods of how to live your life the best, not just study your life the best. So and one of the things they talk about a lot is just be very, very intentional with everything that you do. Like, before you do something, before you say something, think about it. Like, just take a second, and consider, like, why am I doing this? And if you're working at Walmart or something, how often are you asking yourself, why am I doing this? And if you did, and if the answer is to make money, I would say quit your job and go make 20-25 an hour door dashing and listen to Joe Rogan podcasts and learn.
And then you learn, get motivated, and do something.
Exactly. The start.
That's literally how I learned about any type of investing. It went from like, I don't want to work a job. I have money, because when I was young, like middle school, elementary school, I raised turkeys and stuff because we had like 10 acres, and I got them harvested and sold them for Thanksgiving. So I literally had that little business that I ran, and then I had money from that. I'm like, I'm going to invest it. I'll grow it, get 10%. It's $200. I'm good. Just 10% over. There's my money. And I'm like, okay, that's not enough. How do I do this? Then I'm researching companies, because it's all just like, this is fascinating to me. And I don't want to spend getting a $10 bill every hour from Walmart. Like, it's about valuing your time. That's how I literally got to diving into covered calls and stuff and selling options. Literally sell calls. Sure, you're probably familiar with the company DraftKings. Yeah. So I own 100 shares of DraftKings, and then I sell covered calls on it. So basically, I own 100 shares of DraftKings at $51 each. And then you promise you'll sell a certain amount at a certain amount. So right now at $54, I said I would sell my 100 shares at $54 by Friday if it's $54 or more. But I got paid a premium. I got paid like $70 to do that. So if it doesn't hit 54, I just get my shares back plus the $54 or whatever it is. And then I do that every week. So then now when I go to college and I can't actually work a physical job, I'm going to have $50 a week come in, and of just fun money I can spend.
Yeah. You're going to have to help me out with that. I want to.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely.
What platform do you use?
I use Robinhood for that. I have Fidelity for other things, but I use Robinhood for that just because there's no charges for options.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do that on DraftKings. So that's like, I paid $5,000 for all 100 shares ish. But I do that on AFA also, which is a cannabis stock. and
Okay.
it's at like $13. So that's 1,300, and I think I get like $30 a week from them.
Okay.
So it's really nice because I keep buying above, the stock goes up. So let's say this, I say if it goes up 5%, I'll sell at 5%. But if it goes up 3%, I keep that premium that I got paid. Plus I made money on that stock.
Right.
So the plan is I'll probably make about $100 a week in college just off selling covered calls
But
because
so what does the covered entail?
yeah. So basically it's basically saying when I sell a covered call at $54, it's saying if the stock hits $54, I promise to sell all 100 of my shares at that price.
Okay. And what if it doesn't? If it
Then I just get my shares of the collateral. I get my collateral released back to me plus that premium that I got paid.
well, there's literally no risk.
Yeah, there's no risk. And if as long as you always put the I will sell it above what you paid, you're never going to lose money.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do another call here in the next couple of days and get me set up on that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely do that because yeah, I literally do it weekly because you can do it like weekly, monthly, annually. You can do it 2 years out. But like,
Do
yeah,
you
I'll
think that you
definitely do
end
another call.
up doing like bigger puts or
Mhm.
bigger calls, and so when you have more money, like if it's really very
Oh yeah.
low, yeah.
Yeah, so like a good example of this is actually I was talking to my dad about this, but like the more volatility the stock has, the more premium you get.
Right.
But like so Tesla, I think it's like right now Tesla's like if you have $60,000 or 80,000, wherever Tesla's sitting at right now, you
Mhm.
could buy 100 shares of Tesla at um actually I'll tell you the numbers right now because I have it pulled up. Pull up Tesla. So Tesla is sitting at 850. So I would need $85,000 to buy that much. But if I sold calls, I would get paid about, let's see, for selling covered calls, I would get paid about $900 weekly.
If you had bought that much.
If I own 100 shares of Tesla and sell covered calls, I would get paid about $900 weekly
Okay.
to do that.
And that's through Robinhood.
Yeah, it's Robin. It's any selling options, but I do Robinhood because it's completely free.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be more conservative. Like I'm with my investing in general. I'm just super conservative because I have this like basically $8,000 in equity that's pretty volatile, and who knows what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know what's gonna happen, but it's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
So with my personal investing strategy, I'm on Charles Schwab, and I don't know. I just put like $3,000 in like September, and I'm up to like 4,500.
Yep.
Just holding like common stocks. Like, and that's the Tony, the guy in Miami. He was, when I first got down there, he was like ecstatic. He's like he was just talking about Apple, for example. He's like
Mm-hmm.
he was showing me the 5 year the graph and stuff. He's like, you can't tell me 5 years from now the stock isn't going to be more expensive than it is now. And I'm like, you're right. Like
Yeah.
like why aren't more people investing? Like why people just need to people look at investing as like this super like solid like your money is super not liquid, like it's
Mm-hmm.
super complicated, and it's really simple. It's really just like you can start with $100. Like you don't need to have
Exactly.
a ton of money to do it. Like to
Yeah.
get that money, your money in your savings account isn't doing anything for you. Put it into a brokerage account and start investing, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you really need your money, you can pretty much have your money in like a day or two. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty liquid.
That's what I loved about Robinhood. Is also you probably use Robinhood, but also a little bit, but you can get a free debit card from Robinhood. So when you
Yeah.
sell your stock, it goes into like an auto bank account and you can just use their debit card.
Yeah.
So I like love that. So I have the debit card if I need money. So literally I have 8,000 in my Robinhood and I literally have like 200 in my bank account. And
Yeah.
it's just all selling cover calls and I just spend from that debit card.
Yeah.
And if you make under 10,000 a year in profits, you pay zero taxes on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think like I took personal finance in high school, and the way that was taught just pissed me off too. Like just kind of it's very traditional textbook, like whatever. But like I'm like if can we not have to talk about like I mean building a credit is important, but I'd rather just get rich. Like can we talk about getting
Yeah.
rich? Talk about like making like real money?
Yeah.
Like why not? Like it's just why are we it's like you're reinforcing this idea of like work a 9 to 5 and put so much money away. Like, yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
Save good, but you could be doing more.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I literally, when I turned 18, I opened a credit card so I could build credit.
Yeah.
Literally, so I literally just got my second card. So I have two cards now. I have like a 680 credit score, which for a student's pretty good. So it's just paid off, and I literally put my gas for my car on it, and then that's all I use it for.
So yeah, I need to look at getting one. So especially if I'm thinking about, we want to do some real estate here in the next couple of years. So you pretty much pay for everything with that credit card, and then you pay it off monthly.
Yeah, so I don't pay. I never use the credit card really. Actually, I use it for gas, only for my car, and that's like I put $30 on it ish, because you want to stay with under 10% utilization of the card.
Okay.
For like best, usually want to stay like under 30, but if you stay under 10, you get the best growth for your credit score.
Okay.
So I have one credit card that has a 200 credit line and one that has a 500 credit line.
Okay.
So, and you can pay it off monthly or you can pay it off early. I have auto pay set up on both of them. So when it gets to the end of the month, it just takes it out.
Yeah.
I have the Discover It secured card is my first one I got.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you watch Graham Stephan? What should every 18-year-old?
Yes, I did.
I just watched that like 2 days ago, and this is Discover It.
Secured. That's the first one, and then the Pedal 2 is the second one I got. There's an interesting one out there that came out for students though, that you get if you have like an A, you get paid like $20 a semester just for getting good grades.
Oh wow.
So I don't know. I think that's also a Discover card, but yeah. But no, that's literally, I made a list of when I turn 18, selective service, sign up selective service, get a credit card, open my brokerage accounts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so much knowledge on the internet, just like
it really is. Yeah.
Like the interesting thing about it, I think like creating content is everything today, because there's other people like Graham Stephan. There's a ton of people that have done more than what he's done in real estate by the time they're 26, but he's the only one, not the only one, but he's the one that's recording it. All he's doing is just recording his life. That's all he's doing.
There's a podcast you might be interested in called Bigger Pockets. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Bigger Pockets podcast. It's two guys that do real estate, and now they own, I think, like 140 doors each.
Yeah. You say that I went to the this is what I'm saying, man. Law of attraction is real. So I went to this Waukesha like farmers market, not farmers market. It was like this kind of flea market type thing. There's a bunch of vendors there, but I met a guy named Kevin who sold like inflatable like couches. Like I'm sure you've seen. But hold on one this. All right, and we're back. So yeah, so I was just saying, okay, so I was at this Waukesha flea market type thing, and I met this guy Kevin who was selling these inflatable couches, and he was telling me how he's big into real estate, and he said that he started with $9,000, 10% down on a duplex, just paid the mortgage after that, and then rented higher, and he's up to 52 units now.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's 26, and so he actually recommended Bigger Pockets as well.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's there's like I almost look at school as like a game. Like you kind of got to just you kind of just play the game, and you just and you play the game how you want to play it. Like especially, and I keep saying this, but I hope that you love college and the freedom that comes with it, and just kind of being able to develop relationships with the professors, because these are people that like my business law professor I have a really good relationship with. Like she's
That's
a
good.
practicing attorney, and obviously super practical,
Yeah.
um, real life. So
What are you
so yeah.
going, what's your major? Is it a business major?
So I'm in the business school right now, but to be honest, I'm probably going to transfer to arts and sciences,
Okay.
just because um, when I'm looking at the different business majors, I just am not sure of if there's one that I'm really that into. Like I kind of want to broaden my horizons a little bit.
Yeah.
I honestly, I used to make fun of liberal arts, like how they're not practical and stuff. But again, like I'm not, for me personally, it's not about looking good on job applications and on a resume, and it's about what I actually learn and what I'm actually able to apply to real life.
Yeah, that makes sense because especially if you think you because you know the tomato please is gonna ketchup please is gonna work out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And other things too,
Yeah.
and and when you get there, try to surround yourself, again, like I'm basically a time travel for you now, like just
Yep.
try to like be very, like there's a lot of kids in college, like, and so you have the ability to be very selective with those kids that you choose to talk to, and it's all an energy game. Like if there's a lot of very rich fratty type people at Miami and stuff that aren't necessarily worried about or even thinking about any starting a business, but I've met some and super smart kids, and so
Yeah.
to really leverage that, it's very easy to be at the top of any university, honestly.
You really think so?
I think so. Well, again, it's all in your mind.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's all perspective. Like it's like my at the top is different than another kid's at the top.
Oh,
Like another might be GPA, but I don't care. Like from an entrepreneurial point of view, like I think um, fully fully leveraging everything for you personally, and obviously you are different than me, and your goals are different than mine. Like you want to go into finance, I don't, but to kind of just leverage everything the university has to offer.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because I'm only going for the semester also to lacrosse before I transfer, which is probably going to me to like Madison or FSU.
Okay,
Um,
FSU.
yeah, no, that's my top pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like Florida State. Great business program. Also, want to be in Florida,
Yeah.
and great school.
hmm
Um,
Sometimes you got to get away from what you know to find out what you know. Quote Matthew McConaughey. I love that
yes.
quote. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, all the any quote you can find for anywhere. I read Art of Seduction. I'm not by Robert Greene. Super long book, but it's about personality types and that kind of thing. But it's
Mhm.
just full of quotes. Like the whole book is just like personality type quotes.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, no, it's exactly of Florida. It's like get somewhere new, make new connections, bigger
Mhm.
school, a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And when you're surrounded with the same people for 18 years, like it kind of sometimes like it ends up running a little bit dry. Like sometimes, I got down there and I remember sitting in the dorm room the very first night, and it was just kind of it was just weird. It was like I'd never been in any
Yeah,
sort of situation like that. And I'm like, all I got is myself at this point. And nobody knows me. I starting now, and I'm like my reputation. I build my reputation now. None of the shit in the past matters. Like
yeah. Nobody knows you.
exactly, and it's beautiful.
Did you find it pretty easy to meet people and start connecting with people as somebody that doesn't know anybody in a dorm?
Yeah, it's funny because so I got COVID the first week,
Nice.
which didn't help because that was like orientation week. Everyone was just going to everyone's rooms and just meeting people and stuff. And then I moved in. My roommate actually got COVID the day before I moved in. And then that first week that I was on campus, my floor got quarantined, my whole floor. So like we couldn't leave the floor. Like literally we had like food delivered to our rooms and stuff. So it was weird because like I was sitting in my room and I'm both an introvert and an extrovert. Like I was thinking, like I heard the kids in the dorm in the hallway like playing football or something out there, and I'm like, does that like it really comes down to like, is that really what I want to do? Like is like and just like you have the power to choose exactly what you want to do, and by doing what you want to do, you attract like-minded people.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the first person I met, it was in the bathroom. Like that's how you meet people. Like you just meet people like in the initially kind of on your floor and in the bathroom and whatever. And but yeah, I think it was kind of tough to meet people, especially for me, like-minded people. But I mean, it all comes in different ways, shapes, and forms. But
Yeah.
I would just say do the things that you want and attract the right people, not necessarily just more people.
Yeah, I'm hoping to meet people because I have a global macroeconomics as one of my classes, and it's an in-person class. So that's what I'm hoping. I'll meet like-minded people kind of in the business school.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear a lot of kids that are rushing frats and stuff. They're like, oh, I just want to meet more people. I'm like, dude, there's so many people. Like I don't feel like it's necessary, and I don't want to meet more people. I want to meet the right people.
Yeah. Isn't there like 40,000 kids at Miami or something?
Oh, no, it's private. There's like 10 or 12,000.
Really?
Yeah, which I really like about Miami is that like it's small, and someone said like it's big enough that you can meet someone new and see new faces every day, but it's small enough that you recognize faces, walking around campus and stuff. And that's something that you don't get at a bigger.
I didn't realize I don't know why I didn't realize it was private, because I looked at it originally when I was coming to all my schools. It was just Miami was a little expensive for when I was looking at it.
Yeah. And just leverage the place. Like don't look at it. Don't just leverage the university, leverage the place. Like get out if you're in Tallahassee eventually.
Yeah.
Get out into the city. Because most kids you'll notice spend most of their time on campus and in the bubble. Like you want to get out of the bubble.
That's where you meet your people also.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's so, yeah, I'm glad, because it's interesting that it's a smaller school, because La Crosse, smaller school, but it's like 9,000 kids. So that's pretty comparable almost to Miami.
Right. Yeah. And so are you planning on continuing some of these entrepreneurial ventures?
I am. Actually, you talk about real estate, but I'm planning that also. The investing and selling cover calls and stuff is literally going to be like what my career is going to be. So I'm going to go into finance first, because out of college, you make like 140 out. And then after like 5 years, you make like 500. So then if I told you like before, like if you buy Tesla, you buy any of those ones and you can just start making that income. It's there's a community called FIRE. I'm not sure if you know it. Financial Independence Retire Early.
Yeah.
And it's all about that. Find a way to create a passive income, and then you can do what you want. So that's kind of the idea with finance, because it's so much working when you're in that industry. So I want to be in that industry, and then if I don't love it after 10 years, so then after 10 years I'll be 35. And then I could just retire after 10 years, because I'm planning on either buying a duplex, living out in that, so living for free. So
and renting for a unit.
Renting the other side out, living for free, house hacking it.
Yeah. And then once you make more, just literally invest. It just becomes like an addiction. Like
exactly. Because I spend so much time now looking at it, and if I can make 10% return in 2 weeks, and then I have and I have $100,000, it's 10,000 every 2 weeks, 20,000 a month. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's, once you actually do it, it's more realistic.
Yeah.
One thing to say it, it's another thing to execute, but I believe that you will. Cool. Well, so what do you want when I'm going to ask you this, and then we got to wrap things up because I gotta do some things here. But when you're laying on your deathbed, what do you want to be proud of doing? What do you want to be? What do you want your legacy to be?
What do I want my legacy to be? I think I want to be my legacy. I want to be the person that tried and succeeded and like worked through things and is known for pressing through hard times and not giving up.
Mhm.
I think would be the biggest thing.
Mhm.
I want to be known for creating generational wealth kind of through my family,
Mhm.
and kind of start that. And I think just educating my family, my future family, on financial education, which I think is very underrepresented.
Definitely. Have you thought about creating content around it at all?
I definitely have. I just haven't got around to it.
Mhm.
But I know it's probably something I should do because I love to talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it'll open doors that you didn't even know were there. Like,
I'm sure.
and
Have you experienced that with just having the podcast?
yeah, definitely. And nothing super explicit, but even just kind of like I've had a lot of kids on, and I just hearing kind of kids from from high school and stuff saying like, "Hey, I listened to podcasts. Like, I really enjoyed it. It's cool to hear what other kids are doing." Like, that's enough for me. Like, that's
Yeah.
like kind of putting the content out there and leading by example, and kind of having just giving kids and people a different perspective is huge for me. Um and yeah, and I enjoy doing it too. Like I don't care about, like, I'm really focusing on the YouTube right now, but I don't really care at all about the subscribers or the likes. I just keep putting out content
Yeah.
because I like the content. I like to do it, like, and that's
Yeah,
what
for
it's
sure.
kind of.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
cool, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Let's do a call here. I'm going to be pretty busy the next like 4 or 5 days, but maybe sometime next week once I'm settled in school, we can do a call and talk some options and stuff. That'd
Yeah,
be
for
cool.
sure. I'll walk you through. I'll share my screen and we can just walk through that. For sure. Next
Yeah.
week.
And I should be able to, I think I should be able to on Charles Schwab. If not, I can always transfer some money to Robinhood or whatever I
Yeah.
got to do.
Yeah, sounds good. I can when we get there to that point, because when you sign up without somebody's link, you can get a free stock when you sign up.
Yeah.
So before you sign up, I'll send you a link and we'll walk through it. But yeah.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I wish you all the best. So you're moving in next week.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Cool. Just enjoy and make
Thank
the
you.
most out of it, man.
Thanks. I enjoyed being on. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thank you.